My first book, Constitution Crisis, you can see behind on the shelf behind me, uh, and also my first video, which I made last week, was to encourage you to research your family tree and see the connection your family had with the Constitution and the establishment of our government. The second book is going to be Crisis the Constitution. It'll be a much larger book and include a lot of the current events that are going on right now. And I have a friend who I met in graduate school. Her name is Dr. Victoria Meyer, and one of her suggestions was to include a section in the new book dedicated to veterans. And this video is to kind of explain, give you a little bit of insight into what I found in the wars that our country has been involved in, and what a tremendous contribution our veterans have made. Uh, Also, what I would like to suggest to you that in your research that you be sure include uh, any veterans that in your family that were in any of these wars, and be sure and include their copies of their military records, and documenting conversations you might have with them about their involvement. Now, as far as the wars are concerned, there were many that the United States was involved in, but I'm only going to talk about uh, the 7 declared wars, and among those, the American Revolution, which was the first big one, and then the Civil War and the World War I and World War II. There were a couple others, but those were the main ones. And in my research, one of the number of casualties in the Civil War were very disturbing to me. I didn't realize that we had over 700,000 casualties, and this was a war where we fought each other. I mean, it it just blows your mind. But there are more casualties in the Civil War than there were in World War One and World War II combined. But those are the declared wars. Now there were 8 unofficial. I'm looking at the numbers up here. There were 8 undeclared wars, and I'm sure probably uh, some of these, obviously, the Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan, Vietnam, and Korea. Those were all undeclared wars, and we suffered many losses in those wars as well. Now, total, the numbers for all the wars that our country was involved in, total deaths 1.2 million deaths, 1.4 million wounded. So total casualties of 2.6 million. Now, those that are surviving, there are 11, almost 12 million surviving living war veterans, and living veterans 23 million. So we have an opportunity here to recognize their contribution, and give them the tribute that they certainly deserve. Now, on a personal note, that jacket you see behind me belonged to my father, Loring White. It was in World War II, and that inside the front of that jacket it says Army Air Force, and he was a bombardier instructor, and met my mother uh, at Grider Field in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, in 1945. as a result of the war, my father was discharged in February of 1946, and was encouraged by his father to return to New York to help with the farm, which I totally understand. And my mother obviously was an Arkansas native, and her family was here, and she decided to stay here too. So the separation was totally understandable. My dad remarried a wonderful lady, and I went to Phoenix, Arizona, a number of years ago, and met her and the rest of the family. I have two brothers and two sisters uh, by his second marriage, and they're all wonderful people, and we still communicate somewhat. But uh, this this is not only dedicated to our veterans, but it's also dedicated to Loring and his service. He's still alive. Uh, he's 93 years old, be 94 in March. Bless his heart. I hope he gets to see this and understand it, because this means an awful lot to me, and also to the rest of the family. Uh, so this is for you, Loring, and this is for our other living veterans. God bless you.